Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial in the Coding Fundamentals in GML 2.3 Update Series. In this tutorial, we're really going to be focusing on structs as an object. So an object can be defined as a mixture of data and code. And you can see this, of course, in GameMaker objects. Not only do they have their own variables, their own data, but they have all of their own code, all of the code that you put inside of the events. The same is also true for structs. Structs have their own data, their own scope. Variables inside of a struct are different from variables of any other instance or any other struct, but they can also have their own code. And that's what we're going to focus on in this tutorial. So let's talk a little bit more about struct scope. If you remember from the tutorial on scope, there are three basic scopes in GameMaker. There's the global scope, which all instances have access to. There's the instance scope, the variables that are inside of an instance. And then there is local scope. This is scope inside of an event or a function. Variables in a struct are basically at instance scope, where they're at the instance scope of that struct. But there is an important difference between a struct and an instance, and that is primarily that GameMaker keeps track of all of its own instances. So whenever an instance is created, GameMaker has a bunch of functions, a bunch of built-in functions that will allow you to find it. You can iterate through instances, for example, with the with statement. So once you've created an instance, that instance doesn't really get lost by GameMaker. It stays there and you always have access and a way to find it. Structs, on the other hand, are a little bit more like a data structure, where when they are created, they have scope similar to that of an instance of an object, but nothing in GameMaker is tracking that for you. If you want to be able to find this struct, you have to keep a reference to it somewhere. So for example, if this instance created a struct, it would need to save the reference to that struct to a variable. Then you would be able to access things inside of the struct. If it didn't, it would become lost over here. And don't worry, unlike data structures, GameMaker would know that it was lost, that nothing was referencing it, and would delete it for you. So you don't have to worry about memory leaks with structs, at least as long as you keep the garbage collector on. And we'll talk more about that in a future tutorial. But if you want to be able to interact with them, you have to keep a reference to them so that you can find them, because GameMaker won't do that for you. So what does a struct having its own scope actually get you? Why is it so useful? Well, the primary use is that you can do things with them that you can't do with any other data structure. And I have an asterisk here because, of course, if you jump through enough hoops, you could. Everything that structs do was possible in some sense before structs were introduced. It's not like now you're going to be able to make some type of game that you were never able to make before. But maybe a better way to put it is that structs allow you to make certain types of structures or to organize your code in a certain way that was never possible before. And often this new organization can be incredibly helpful. Essentially, it gives you the core functionality of objects without any of the overhead that GameMaker objects have. GameMaker objects come with a bunch of built-in variables and built-in events, all of which run and do things behind the scenes. Structs basically get you all of that, but without any of the bells and whistles that you don't want. It really is a lightweight object. But I think this will become a lot more clear if we just switch over to GameMaker Studio and see a couple examples. Now, to really get a full idea of how structs can be treated as objects, you just have to experiment with them and play around with them. But I'm going to go over a couple of the key points here. So the first thing is I'm going to create an alarm struct. Now, I do have another tutorial on this. I'll have a link up above. But the basic idea is that we have a constructor function, which you can see over here, that will basically create a little alarm struct. And that alarm struct will operate much as a built-in alarm would. We can give it its own internal variables, such as time remaining, default start time, and alarm event. We can give it its own methods. So every version of this struct will have these methods. You'll be able to set it, run it, check whether it's active or not, and cancel it. And remember, because these methods are being declared in the constructor function, they'll be bound to this struct. So we can use the constructor function to create one of these alarm structs and assign it to myAlarm. Then we can set the myAlarm event. So alarm event over here is a variable that is internal to this struct. And we can write a function and save that function to this variable. All this function will do is print the debug message, hello world, and then reset the alarm. And it's important to keep in mind how binding works. Because we're declaring this function inside of an instance of this object, it's going to be bound to this object, not this struct. So even though the struct holds a reference to it and the struct is running it, it's actually going to operate on the variables held inside of an instance of this object. And if that doesn't make sense, I'll have a link up above to the tutorial on method variables and binding. So we create the alarm, we set the alarm event, and then we set the alarm. I'll come back to this in a moment, but let's come over here to the step event and you can see that we call myalarm.run This method is bound to the alarm. You can see that it is over here, and it simply counts down the time, and if time remaining is less than or equal to 0, it fires the alarm event, the function that we just saved to that variable. And we can create as many of these as we want. Because these variables up here, time remaining, default start time, and alarm event, are inside the scope of the structs that are created by this constructor. So even if we had 4 of these alarms, you wouldn't have any conflict with the variable names. They'd each have their own time remaining variable, they'd each have their own run method, and they'd be counting down on their own variables. Again, acting very much as if they were GameMaker objects, where you had to write everything manually. So this is one use. Now let's look at another. This might be a little bit too on the nose, but we're actually going to create a little lightweight object. So we have our constructor, and I just want to demonstrate that this is a script asset, and you can make constructors script functions and put them in script assets, and then use them anywhere just as you would with any script function. But you can also use the constructor function and save it to a method variable. So here, lightweight object will be a method variable that is a constructor, and it will be held inside instances of this object. So the only way another object could get access to it would be by accessing this variable. And it's going to create a tiny circle that moves around at random. So we're going to give this struct an X and a Y. We're going to give it a radius that's a random range between 5 and 10. And then we're going to give each of these structs its own update function and its own draw function. Where in the update function, we're just going to update its X and Y somewhere in the range of 1 or -1. So it's going to jitter around a little bit. And then in the draw function, we're going to draw a circle at its location with its radius. We'll use this method variable, which is a constructor, to create 3 new circles in the center of our room. And then in the step event, we're going to call the update, because again, remember that although in many ways it's like a GameMaker object, everything has to be done manually. So we've got to call the update function for each one of these individually. Now, obviously we could also put them in an array and do it like that, but for the moment, we're just going to do it individually. And then in the draw event, we're going to call their own draw methods. I'll come back to this, but let's actually just run this and see what happens. So here we go. I've let it run for a bit, but you can see that we have our 3 circles and they're moving around. And you can see that down here, hello world is being printed out once a second. So everything is working exactly as intended. And you can see our structs, in fact, behaving very much as if they were instances of GameMaker objects. So now I want to cover 2 last things. First, let's come down here. This is more of a side note, but it is important to keep in mind. So here I am creating a struct with a struct literal. So I'm not using the constructor. There's 2 things to note, both of which we covered in part 1. Number 1, we're using colons rather than equal signs, because with a struct constructor, you use equal signs, but when you're using struct literals, you use colons. And number 2, we don't need to use the keyword new or anything like that. That's only for constructors. So this will create a struct, and this struct will have its own method. And what I want to point out is that this method, even though we're creating it inside the create event of this object, will be bound to this struct. And that's because whenever you create a struct with a struct literal, once GameMaker comes inside of here, this block of code inside the curly brackets, the scope has actually changed to this new struct. So this variable will be a variable of this struct, and so will this. And more importantly, this function created right here, because it's being created inside the scope of this struct, is bound to this struct, and it will operate on the variables of this struct. The second thing I want to point out is that while alarm structs are useful, and I actually use them in my projects, this is still a relatively simple thing. You can use structs for a lot more. So while I'm not going to go over in this tutorial, over here we have a 2D vector struct. This will create 2D vectors in struct form. And as you can see, the vector has 2 variables, X and Y, but it has a lot of internal methods. And this gives you a ton of power. Now, it would take too much work to go over all of this in a single tutorial, but for the moment, I just wanted to give you a sense of what you can do with structs and how powerful they can be. So in summary, structs have their own scope, which means that structs can have their own variables and their own code, giving you all of the functionality of an object without any of the overhead that comes with a built-in GameMaker object. As always, the links in this slide will be below, along with links to the slides themselves and the source code. And that's it. Thanks for watching.